Alright guys, today I'm going back to my old leveling guides and updating them with a bit of better information, cutting out the waffle and re-recording the audio because for some reason when I recorded all these leveling guides I must have had a cold or something. These are the topics that we're going to cover. The FAQ, when it comes to rogues, obviously it's going to be what on earth do you do for poisons, what kind of weapons do you get, the optimal talent build, rotation, how to kill stuff fast and efficiently, gear and stats, weapon regression, and key abilities and how to save up gold for your mount at level 40. Guys, if you feel like you're falling behind in Fresh Classic, by far the biggest experience per hour is obtained in Vanilla WoW by simply doing the perfect questing route, which is luckily provided by the world record holding speed levelers who created Rested XP. If you don't believe me, you can get the add-on for free right now up until level 30, and if you want to get the full guide, use my discount code MetaGoblinFresh and click my link in the description for a little cheeky 15% off. So when it comes to weapons, the main thing guys is to have a slow main hand, and the reason why we do that is because it scales with Sinister Strike damage. It increases the damage of it because it does scale off weapon damage, which means it picks that top number, what that's on the weapon, and it hits for that much. And then you want a fast offhand, and that's basically just for fast poison application. When you have instant poison on your weapons, it's just slightly more damage. Now, for weapon type, yeah, swords are pretty good, obviously, when you have sword specialization, because that can hit for a lot of damage. But I don't think maces are that bad, to be honest. I actually did level with maces when I leveled my rogue back in the day, and it was a little quite underrated. It's good because in PvE, when you're taking down mobs, you stun the mob for a good 3 seconds, and then you're not taking damage. So I found it quite good for sustainability, and also, obviously, it was great for PvP, because it really catches people off guard. Now, when it comes to your poisons, you basically just use instant poison on both of your weapons when you're leveling. Most fights, while you're leveling up in vanilla, are going to be, well, fairly short, and therefore deadly poison doesn't really get much use. Now, the talent build I recommended back in the day was basically your typical combat build, but you start off in remorseless attacks because that is just such a good talent for when you're leveling, and then you start speccing into combat, as you can see the build here. But honestly guys, you really can level whatever spec you want when it comes to the rogue. It's not going to make a massive amount of difference if you're going to be specced a certain way, and obviously when you spec into subtlety, you are going to be way better in PvP. I know people are going to have a go at me for not pronouncing that correctly. I think it's subtle, oh my god. Subtlety, I think. And that is actually the spec that I leveled in when I leveled up my rogue back in the day. Actually, I had a bit of a cross build of combat and subtlety because I wanted Ghost Strike combined with the mace stun, which turned out to be quite interesting actually. If I remember, I'll leave that video linked in the description. I called it the Ghost leveling build or something. You can check it out. My point is, and why I bring that video up is because you really can just, that's the great thing about vanilla, you really can just kind of customize and make your own little unique kind of cool build. It's probably going to work just as good as any other build. Now, one thing that is important to learn though when it comes to your rotation and playstyle is attack clipping. So when you cast Sinister Strike, just as your weapon swing is coming available again, you will clip the auto attack basically, and it will reduce your damage. So the idea is to only use abilities like Sinister Strike and Counter Strike just after a melee attack. Ideally just after, because then you can proc sword spec. You don't want to proc sword spec later on in a weapon swing. Ideally you want it to proc as early as possible, because that's also wasting time. It's just a little bit of a min-max thing. Obviously get a weapon swing timer add-on so you can manage this. But it's fairly simple. Just remember, you only use activated abilities just after a melee swing. When it comes to your rotation, you have a number of options really. You can just do Sinister Strike 5 times and then Eviscerate. You can do that. Normally, you're only going to really do that when you're taking on, well, mobs with small HP pools. To be honest, I think I over-recommended this back in the day, because normally I'm going to use Eviscerate when it's the last mob that I need to take down quickly, or I need to kill a mob quickly to get out of a dodgy situation where I'm going to pull another mob, and I just need that instantaneous quick damage to finish off the mob, because usually you just want a big fat slice and dice. And this especially is the case when you are chain pulling. If you know you're going to absolutely grind the hell out of a quest and you're going to be pulling mobs pretty quickly, then obviously getting a big slice and dice buff and having that carry over, 2 to 3 mobs is pretty good, because most of your damage does come from white damage, from your auto attacks, and slice and dice improves that massively. And obviously when you are taking on elite enemies or more difficult enemies, you've obviously got the option for cripple kiting. Basically what you do, you put crippling poison on your offhand or your main hand, probably your offhand, well, just whichever one is faster actually, and then you just kite the mob with gouge and slows, and slowly, pick it off by building up combo points and then dumping those combo points on rupture and then running away, and you keep running away. Rinse and repeat, squeeze in some shots of your gun or your bow. And then it's also good to use obviously stealth openers like cheap stun when you're taking on more difficult enemies, because for the opener of that fight, that mob is going to be stunned, and then you can actually chain that into a stun. And sometimes you can actually kill a mob, like an elite mob, you can get it down to like 50% health before he even gets out of a stun. Now, when it comes to gearing, for some reason I put 2 options here. Well, I think it's important to stack... Honestly, guys, to be honest, when I'm leveling a road, just stack agility and stamina. Just absolute deck yourself out in agility and stamina, and don't really worry about anything else. Strength is kind of okay. If a gear piece has it, and it's quite a lot of strength over, another gear piece that only has a little bit of agility, then yeah, get that piece. But really, agility and stamina are very, very good, because it increases your damage, but most importantly, your crit chance, but also increases your dodge chance, which obviously reduces damage and improves your sustainability. One thing I will say though is it is important to remember to have a decent amount of stamina gear. Don't just deck your character out in full agility gear that has absolutely no stamina. You will regret it, particularly in PvP, because you will go down in 2 hits, and you will realise that you can only pull 1 or 2 mobs before you have to start eating. So it is important to have that balance of agility and stamina. When it comes to weapon progression, guys, I have a big sheet that has every cool and good one-hander weapon options for rogues and warriors and everything like that. All you got to do is subscribe to the channel, go to my channel page, and you'll see it in the description of my subscriber only video. And if you don't see it for any reason, it is just on my Discord. Now obviously it is very important to save money for your mount to level 40, because you don't want to be running around past level 40 not on your mount. Any level that you have to level after 40 not on a mount is going to be a huge waste of time. So this is a list of all your key abilities that you absolutely have to get. Anything else only get if you can afford it. And then these are all my tips to save money. They're still quite good, although I'd recommend some alternative methods, to be honest. You don't have to get skinning unless you are going to get level working, to be honest. To be honest, what I'd recommend is just checking out my latest video, which is it's called Level Up Smart, Not Fast in Classic WoW. It has probably the best tips out there on how to optimize your gold per hour while you are leveling, so you can definitely afford that mount and obviously have a decent amount of cheddar for when you get to level 60, and then you can save up for your epic mount. Anyway guys, that's going to be the end of the video there. My name is MetaGoblin. Until my next video, ciao.